Thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. My guest, Raileigh Duschen, is here, and I am so excited. This young lady has got me filled with energy, and so I know that she's going to share some things that are going to help to change your life and, shift your energy. So, Rayleigh, take it away. Introduce yourself.
Hi, Tammy. Thank you for having me. It's an honor. I appreciate the outreach and what you're doing here to share conscious conversations. And that's a little bit about who I am. I'm an author, I'm a poet, I'm a speaker. Also, say I'm a healer, as I believe healing comes in through divine communication. And I'm the founder of Conscious Lifestyle Coaching, here to hold sacred space for people who are like you and just here to raise the vibration of Earth towards more peace and light and hope, faith.
Yes. So excited. So let's get into it. How did you come to that place? I mean, I know that, you weren't born doing these things. How did you come there? I mean, like, did you figure it out in college or was it a calling from when you were young? Talk about that.
If anyone's on the spiritual path, you're just born with it. As long as I can remember, I was always in the discovery and prayer and asking questions about why am I here? Who am I? But the real call to embody this as a life profession came when I was about to enter medical school. And I started praying and envisioning what is it truly I needed to be a healer in this world, that would bring healing to my life. I was very sick at the time. Um, and I started receiving the dreams and visions of who I was meant to become. And it wasn't anything like I knew in terms of identity that society gives me or my family or friends. And I decided the path of healing is the only choice here because I was getting so sick. And yeah, ever since then, 2019, graduated college, and now it's my full-time profession. The people who were my colleagues in medical school at that time, they receive from me and they honor my choices because it was a very brave and authentic choice. And so I'm just here to be, again, that light in the tunnel, the crossroad for people who are about to make a choice for themselves, about choosing the soul-aligned path, the authentic path, and seeing that prosperity and healing do come when you honor the soul.
I love that. I love that you can be a guide for those people because they need it. And our stories are so similar because I was on that path too. But I knew something inside of me knew that that wasn't for me. But I didn't go straight into the healing. I didn't go straight into the healing part, even though I knew as a child, like I was 3 years old laying hands on people. So I knew that that was a part of who I was. But for me, I felt like I was so strange already. Like everybody always thought I was so strange. And I thought, Lord, one more thing, one more thing, because people were like, well, what's she gonna do now? Know? But I realized, later on, I was like, you know what? I don't have a choice because this is who I have always been. People say, oh, you came out of the closet. And in ways I did, but I always knew that this was me. So I said, no, I've always been her. I've
Mhm.
always been her. I said, I just kept her over here, and kept her quiet in the background, told her to go sit down and shut up. I said, but I've always been her. So I salute you and celebrate you for even just taking this stand, especially so young. I'm in awe of that. I really am. And so when you decided to go move forward with that, how did you shift your own healing? Like, how did you get your own healing? Did you, start working with energy or how did that come about for you?
Mhm. For me, it was working with ancestral healing first. We were talking earlier about religion, and I grew up very Catholic, but also I'm indigenous. My father is Montagnon Indian of Vietnam, so I grew up with a just different perspective and outlook on life.
Yeah.
And I left the medical school profession, and I knew I had to heal my body and to know what's next, right? To have the divine clarity and to work for God, you have to be clear in your body. So I moved to the mountains, Western North Carolina, and I lived with a homesteading family, and I drank the cleanest water I ever had. I'm from Daytona Beach, Florida. the best food I've had in my life, heirloom Cherokee tomatoes and sourdough bread. Did not eat that growing up. Uh, my parents did the best they could, but grew up on food stamps. You eat what you can, doesn't matter where it's from. Uh,
Right.
I was just fueling my body and learning how to cultivate with the land as my ancestors did. I'm in the first generation in America to not grow up on a farm. And so it was a very huge mental shift for me, and I did huge ego death at the time of telling my farming family that I didn't want to be a doctor anymore and I wanted to go back to farming. And it was at that time I was reading books. I was getting certified in yoga. I took 2 years with it. I really wanted to absorb it and really understand. It was pretty much a master's degree in
Yes.
the healing I did on my own time. Started martial arts and just anything I could get my hands on. I solely dedicated my spiritual sabbatical at this time to doing just that and writing about it. And I knew it would be important later. And conscious lifestyle coaching didn't come until another year or two, but I just knew it was my time to fully immerse and reclaim my body, reclaim my soul, talk to my ancestors, and just pray. Pray to God. Ask for guidance.
That is so powerful. And that is so necessary in this world, but especially for, somebody like you so young, because I still think that you guys are going to change the world because you guys are coming into yourselves and to your knowledge and to your purposes, at such a young age. You know what I mean? And it's powerful. And so when you talk to other people that are in the same place where you are, especially because I know that had to be a difficult conversation that you have with your parents that you weren't going to medical school. So share a little bit around that as much as you feel comfortable, how that affected you and how you would help somebody else in that same situation.
Yeah. It was difficult to receive from my family that they were disappointed in me. Advisors at the time said I would never be heard, that I needed the MD behind my name to actually have a voice in the world, which is funny because now I very much have a voice, right?
Mhm.
And very much healing. And I would say that crossroad it occurs over and over again. I did it again, leaving the outdoor industry as an executive a couple years ago. And that was another moment in my life. And every time I try to conform myself to a reality that's just not true, my body breaks down. I have no choice. And so my family can say, I'm disappointed in you as much as they want. But ultimately, I'm choosing to live. I'm choosing to thrive. I'm choosing the path in which I can give anything. Because
Yeah.
I'm a young woman, I want to take care of my family. I'm starting a family now. And for me to actually do that in this life, I have to be able to live and be vibrant and healthy. But unfortunately, that's something that most people, especially in American society, sacrifice. And that's
Yes.
what I tell them is it's not worth the sacrifice. You need to be alive. Your children need to see you be healthy to
Yeah.
actually sustain the medicines of our ancestors, the legacies of our pain must be transmuted. And so for us to truly break those generational curses and to heal, we have to make alternative, crazy, wild, but true choices, no matter what they say. Because it is an act of unconditional love, not only towards myself, but towards my family. I can't lie and numb and destroy my body because then I have nothing to give later.
That is so powerful. And I still, I keep saying, I am just so thrilled that you got there at your age because for me, I was kind of sort of on that path at your age, but I was so stuck in the conditions and so stuck in the religion and so also stuck in the place of people pleasing.
Mhm. Yeah.
You think, okay, everybody's going to be disappointed in me. You're going to be upset. I already was feeling that. And so, yeah, I mean, just for you to, stand on that, because a lot of people allow their families to bully them into, different careers. And I've heard it over and over and over again. And it's like, no, because no. And so I actually learned that for my children. And I
Mhm.
actually did not do that for them. I made sure that, they could make their choices. There were certain guidelines, like they had to graduate from high school, of course. But after that, if you want to go to college, you need to go to college. If you want to get a trade, I actually encourage them to do that. Especially my daughter, she's like brilliant mind, like electrical and stuff like that. And I encouraged her to go. I said, be an electrician. You know what I mean? So, but I left it up to them to do whatever they felt called to. Even at that time, and I wasn't even in this space either. So you having that mindset is huge, especially, for your generation, because you're gonna change the world. And it's funny because my husband and I say that all the time. We say they're gonna change the world. And so I feel privileged to be able to be on this virtual stage with you because you're gonna change the world, you and others like you. So going forward, where do you see yourself? Are you, oh yeah, you did say you were interested in having children. Okay, yeah. So where do you see yourself on your journey? Say 5 years.
Mm. I know within the next couple months and year, I'll be a mother and a wife. The next 5 years, I just want to share poetry. I can do the executive coaching. I'm building businesses for people who are speaking to millions of people in this country and across the world. And it's the greatest honor and joy is to work with them and to see them shine as a coach. Really, at the end of the day, I just love sharing poetry. That's what I want to be known for. It's the words of peace I share. Nothing else matters. I don't care about the money. I don't care about the land, generational land I want to inherit back into the bloodlines. It's simply did I share peace with, and I want my words to be remembered. And I want to help people also channel within themselves the power of compassionate prayer through speech in language.
Mm,
I believe prayer should be at any moment we're opening our mouth and a sound's coming out, and
yes,
just structuring what prayer is and uh, what peace looks like, sounds like, and therefore that is how it's created and embodied. And that's where I see it myself going. It's just speaking, speaking peace everywhere I can. That's all I want to do.
I love that. I love that because it's, just to be so secure in yourself, to know that. Because, like, it took me years, decades, even, to get to that place where I said, you know what? No, this is who I am. This is what I want. I'm simple. I'm a person that I'm like you. I know that we need money and I like
Mhm.
to have it, but not chasing it. And I'm not going to worry about it because I know that it's there for me. You know what I mean? But it took so many years for me to get to that place. It's like, oh my God, and even I laugh because even the experience that you talked about where your body just breaks down when you're not in alignment with what you need to be doing. And that's what was happening to me I tell people I was in burnout for 12 years. I had no idea. I just thought, okay, well, maybe let me try something else, because in that field you can do all kinds of different things. And so I just said, okay, well, maybe I need to get a new job in it. And I used to laugh about it because I used to tell people, I was like, I'm a 2-year girl. Like when you go on those interviews and they say, well, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And the first thought comes to my mind is not here. Not here. And as I got older, I said, retired. These are thoughts in my mind. I'm like, no. And so just the fact that you can be there and be so secure with that, that's saying something. That's huge because, and I feel like people need to hear that from you being so young because, they're going to be people that are my age that are watching going, wow, yeah, that's so cool. They're going to be like me. That is so cool to be, that evolved at such a young age, and I'm rejoicing for your kids, because when we evolve like that, you know, we can't help but to help our children, in the next generations, because that is what's needful, especially in this time, particular time right now in 2025.
Mhm.
So yeah. So um let's talk about the shift and the change of coming from the religion into, I call it the open mind of God.
Mhm.
So let's talk about that and how that was for you.
Mm. Well, I grew up in a Catholic mass church, not fully understanding Spanish. So I was
Oh,
sitting in church, already meditating, right? Um, Learning how to be in a safe space and just be open and just feeling people's energy. I was head altar girl. I played flute in the choir and just kind, right? I was just a woman of service. I don't know what's going on half the time. My Spanish isn't very good. Um, at the same time, knowing where my blood comes from was created a split, a resistance to really confirming, obviously, but letting that be the rest of my life. I couldn't sit in one community or one church for the rest of my life. I've, in fact, since then been in many churches, Christian, not Christian, indigenous, all of them, Buddhist temples. I've been in all of them. And it's my love and passion for just discovering how do people build a relationship with God, however they define God. Which to me, if it's love, we're in alignment. I'm gonna find something to connect with.
yes.
Um, And that's been radical. Every single time I'm in a community, I feel that it is home. I never want to leave. But it's the passion, it's the pull, it's the soul call that drives me out ultimately. Because the more I break free and I break my mind open, the more other people see and witness that. And I'm bridging communities along this whole journey from the Catholic Church to the Christian Baptist to the shaman indigenous people to the Buddhist temples. It's they're still along my journey with me and they get to know each other. And I
Yeah.
think that's the most special and pure thing about being on the spiritual path outside of religion. Your world is so open and you find safety and healing, family everywhere you go. And it's heartbreaking too. And I think you understand that.
Yeah.
Finding soul family.
Yeah.
So detaching from people over and over and over again. Um, but it's not everyone's path, but if you're
No.
open, your life becomes so enriched.
Yeah.
Oh, and the person becomes so empowered. If you can find safety and home everywhere you go, that person is unstoppable.
That is, I almost wanna do a transition with that song. Wow. Because that's what it is. You're right. It's like, because you think about that, and I think about on my journey, same type of situation. It's like I have lived, I've lived all up the East Coast, and now I'm on the West Coast. I've lived in Arizona. That was actually the first stop on the West Coast for me. And then we came up here to Washington State. And people are saying, are you going to come back home to Savannah? I said, I haven't lived in Savannah in over 30 years. No. I was like, that's not really home for me. I mean, it's where I'm from, and I love it when I visit, but I'm not trying to stay there, you know. And also, it's like building that family and that community everywhere, because everywhere that I've gone, like I left home at like 18.
Mhm.
And I think I went back home one time since then. We stayed home about a year and then we left again and then we hadn't been back. And so it was like I always had to build family and community everywhere. I had kids. And so with the kids, you always have to have some type of village, really. You need a village. And so everywhere that I always was able to connect with people and find that village so that, I felt safe, and I feel like that's so important because you spoke to that, feeling safe. And that is to me the primary thing. And people talk about that about like, oh, you're moving there and you're moving there and you move there and you move there. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I've moved a lot. I said, but I've had a lot of experiences. I've met a lot of people. I know how to interact with anybody because I've met a lot of people and I'm okay with it. I said, but the person whose company that I love the most is mine. So I said, but yeah, so being able to just, be free to, be you
Mhm.
and, pull in the experiences that we all need in our life. And some of them that we frankly have already done, because we live almost in a constant state of deja vu because we've already done these things. Like we've already had this conversation, we've already talked. It's probably why I'm so excited and I still feel that energy just buzzing all through me. But so what do you see for the world? Because I know that you have those revelations.
Mm. I believe we'll continue to see the split in love and fear. It's inevitable. It has to happen. We'll see clearly what is a loving world, what is a loving and peaceful society. You'll be able to see it, you'll know it, you'll feel it, and then you'll know the exact opposite of it as well. So the world that we perceive, that people tell us, and the world we're actually living, that is really up to us to define. We're gonna see people less think for themselves and just be told the world is as it is. Just like, hey, we're told be a doctor, be a lawyer. Well, the world is supposed to be harsh and dark and uncaring and soulless. That's what people are gonna be told. And other people are gonna live in the very opposite vibration of that. And it has to intermingle. So even if you're living in pure peace and love, you're blessed, you're anointed, you know you're a God awakened being. You still have to go into the darkness. That's why we're here. That's the hard part. We don't want to do that because we know God. So why would we leave the absence of God? So
Yes.
then we dive deep into the darkness and we bring people that we can with us. And um, that's what's going to increasingly become more dense as you rise in the vibration. It's the greatest grief to see how dark this world really is.
Mm.
You'll see it at a collective level more and more and more. The more you travel, right? The more you become a global citizen, then you see this same stuff is everywhere. It's happening everywhere. You think you're not in war, you're in war. You are. You are. We're social programmed to believe, in the egocentrism that
Yeah.
we're more perfect than everyone else. This is the more safe place in this one church, in this one country, in this one town, this one family. Mm-mm. So the more we open our mind, we see the darkness, we see the light, and we get to choose every single day. But it becomes the depth of the human experience becomes so much more complex. You can experience so much bliss, enlightenment at the same time. How far are you willing to go as an enlightened being to experience God on earth and therefore experience and look at, talk to, hold
Yes.
hands with pure evil?
Yes.
Not to scare anyone. We get to choose that, right? It's a journey. Uh, but just the knowing and the perceptions, the feeling and the experience of evil and of war coming closer and closer and closer at the same time you're rising in vibration. Heaven is here, it's beautiful. Living in both.
Yeah. There would be people that would say that that's delusional. Um, what would you say about that?
Delusion means we're lying to ourselves that even though there's a true reality, we're not accepting it. And so therefore I understand. I don't want to accept that people are being bombed right now and thrown into vans and human trafficked.
Right.
I don't accept that most people around me are high and drunk at night.
Right.
I don't want to accept that there has been so much rape in my family and I don't even know where the bloodline really comes from. I don't want to accept those things. I
Right.
don't want to accept that. I'm actually enlightened because I've been abused from a very young age. I don't want to accept that. But the more I do, the more I thrive, the more I heal, the more I help people. And that's the reality I want to live. We want to live in the cookie cutter. We want to live in the television. We want to live in the lie, in the same church pew week after week.
Yeah. We want to just sit there and yeah, I tell people, I said, I don't know what it is, but there came a time where I knew that I couldn't do that anymore. Like I tried so hard, just like I did with the job. Like I worked about 2 years someplace and then I'm like, you know what, I gotta go. Work someplace else, go do something else, go do a different type of field, go work at the prison, go do mental health, go do, you know, um, I don't know, rehab, go do home health. I've done it all. And so I did all these things just to try to stay doing this stuff because, that's how I made my money until God really like said no. Like every time I went to work somewhere, I got sick, sick, sick. And then this last time, I got long COVID, which I had COVID and it was nothing. Like COVID was like a cold for us. Like we just stayed home for a week and went on back to work and all that. And I don't know, it's almost like I could feel. I said, okay, now I already told you, because that's how they deal with me. I told you, we already had this discussion, but I see you a little hard-headed, so I'm gonna help you out, and so so now it's like I can't do that. I cannot do it, and it's okay, but it took me that place to get to where it was okay, because I felt, I'm a failure, and how can I be, what are you talking about? I can't, whatever, and you listen to other people, and you're like, yeah, I mean, I'm young, I can, do this and da 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 da, da, but it wasn't even about that, it was a whole calling, it was a whole separation, and so. I want you to speak to that, how that separation went for you, because I know that in this place that we're in, that's a part of the journey. It's like we have to have this separation. I don't know if that, I think it's probably an extension of the dark night of the soul, but we have to have that separation where, God can speak to us without other voices in our ears. So
Mm.
what was that like for you?
My first memory of human existence is the separation between me and God. Like fully awakening. Oh, I'm here on Earth. And every time I get comfortable in an identity or reality or a community, and I have that awakening where it's taken from me again, and I'm left alone in the wilderness, literally. I was in the mountains, and I had no family. And I don't know how to explain it, but it's like the worst kind of isolation that no human should experience. At the same time, it was like being a wild animal, just totally wild, totally relentless
So
in my
there's
pursuit
freedom.
of love, freedom. But people don't want to be free.
No, they
I didn't want to be free. And every time God cuts the cord between me and something I think I love more than God, it never ends that way. Um, I'm that person. I try to find home everywhere I can to f just experience the love of the divine. When I say God, I mean the divine source, Great Spirit.
yes,
Uh, and so whenever something's taken away from me, I just have to remember I'm being put back into that place where God is within me. In a way, God is me. God is everybody. And
yes,
so it's okay. I'm gonna see this person again. I don't know when or how, but we're gonna see each other again. In fact, your spirit is now with my spirit forever. Even
yes,
if it was days, months, a moment, a podcast interview, we'll never forget that energy lives with us. And then we just become expansive.
yeah,
And
yeah,
the more you're isolated, the more you find your expansiveness, the
yeah.
more you see God is everywhere. And are you willing to break open though? Most people are not.
No,
I get it. It's
they don't want to. They do everything they can to avoid it. That's when you get the people, like we talked about in the green room. That's when you get the people numbing out, you know, drinking hard, doing a lot of drugs, all of these things. And that is just avoidance. It's avoidance. And it's I wonder what it's going to take to shift that. And part of me knows that it's going to take all of us doing what we do, bringing this healing and this light into the world, to help in the darkness. Um, but I often wonder, how do we get there?
it's the question of how alive are we willing to really be?
Yeah.
Willing to be the one to get off drugs? Are you willing to be the one to be completely sober? Are you willing to be the one to let go of, for example, I pay more for healthy organic food from farmers than sometimes going with long periods without health insurance or medical insurance. But to me, that makes sense. To other people, they think I'm insane and stupid. But they'd rather pay a bunch of money for an illness that they're sowing into. I'd rather sow into health. Um, how alive are you willing to be? How not in fear? Um, and that takes a brave choice from all of us every single day. Whoever's listening, you have to feel all the feelings. Look at what has happened to you. Like, really look at it. That's hard for me. Why was I given conscious lifestyle coaching so young? When I asked that and God knew I was really ready to receive that answer, broke my heart.
Oh my goodness.
Broke my heart. But now I have the gift to help parents or
Yes,
adults before they have children to really love themselves.
yes, yes.
And I can grow with this and I can leave this for my children. But
That's
how
amazing.
alive, how alive are we really willing to be and to feel all of it, to feel the pain in our body, not take pharmaceuticals,
Yeah,
look at the ways we've abused other people,
yes,
and then forgive ourselves, but to feel the emotion. That's what you were asking earlier. What are we seeing? People not wanting to feel emotions because it's pain.
yes.
Why would we want to experience pain? People are going to become increasingly more weak, but they seem strong, but they're cold. And so the power and the strength of being the people who are empathetic, they're compassionate, they're peaceful, they
Yeah.
have hope and faith in their heart. But maybe they're the weird people, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
And that's okay. Yeah, you're right. And it's rampant. People just really don't want to feel because I tell you, when I started doing this work and I started working with people, and I haven't had like a whole ton of patients, but the ones that I've had and patients, clients, um, the ones that I've had, it's like the first thing we have to do is teach them how to connect to not only God, source, universe, whatever you call him or them, but not only that, they have to connect to themselves because they're disconnected from their own body. And I know how that feels because when you feel like you're in, I want to say the matrix, and you're doing what the people in the matrix do, the people in the matrix disconnect from their bodies. Because why? Because it's painful, like you just said. And so I think a part of that is, like I said, if we can help them to connect to themselves and then their God self. Because the thing is they can't really connect to their God self until they can connect to their own body. Because how are you going to even know you're being talked to?
And that was the danger of religion, of punishing the body, right? Condemning the body, hating the body, even hating that we're human because of what happened to Christ. But Christ is not saying we don't worship what happened to me. Walk in the world in which you have the same consciousness and the purpose as I do, but you don't have to suffer like me. But we all suffer. We all go through some type of deep suffering
Yeah,
as Christ. No one wants to be like Christ. So that's why religion is also a trap. It's a trap.
I agree.
Um, being demonized for practicing yoga.
I was going to say,
People,
everything that I do said that I would go to hell. Because I read cards and they said that that was going to send me to hell. And it took me a little while to actually start to actually connect and read the tarot because of that. And I knew that it was that religious deconditioning because, for me, it was years. Like my grandmother was a pastor. So we were spoon-fed the Bible. Like when I came out the womb, I think I went to church, So, and we went sometimes 4, 5, 10 days a week. So yeah, so it was a lot of that, and you don't realize it until walk away from it. You don't realize it, and even then, it takes time for you to deconstruct because it's so embedded, and we've been so manipulated and so brainwashed. And yeah, so I think that when we begin to open up to, and I always tell people, I said, it's like you open up to all that God is and not just some of it.
Mhm.
and not just that little part, and not just that one scripture that somebody took out of context normally and created a religion, or I call them cults. They're all cults. And they created, with that one scripture, like the one about women can't preach and all that other kind of crap. It's like, oh, okay, so this is what we're doing,
Mhm.
and people are sheep, they don't even question it. And when we do, when you and I and people like us start questioning it, they think we're crazy, right?
Mhm.
So I'm just so filled with gratitude because of this conversation, and I'm just excited because I can see, you know, where you're going, and it's just so phenomenal. Like it makes my heart just, I laugh. I said I remember the scripture that talked about how when Mary went around, uh, what's her name, the cousin, when she went around, her baby leaped, and I was like, wow, I could understand that experience because that's how I feel right now. I feel like my baby's leaping because I'm looking at the future and it's just so bright. Just the things that you're bringing into this world. And so I know that you're a healer. I know that you're a poet and you're an author. And for the audience, all of those things, all of her links will be in the description. So you'll be able to click on them and go find her everywhere that's posted. But I'm just like, I want to talk just a little bit about um, your perspective on everything that's going on now.
I want to speak directly to the Black community. It is not your job to go back and drill, to make automobiles, to work in factories. It's not. The divine inheritance, the reparations, the karmic justice that comes with you embodying the spiritual essence of who you are. You are the medicine of a very spiritually devoid society that people will need. They don't know they need it yet. So now is the prime time to make your dreams reality, to walk in it, to build your website, write your art, share your music, because that is what people are going to need when they need respite from the chase of money, from chasing a reality that is ultimately an unpromising dream. You do not want to go back to industrial work. That is not the answer. Spiritual healing is. And that's why I'm here also to be a voice and a guide and a source of empowerment that the karmic justice comes and you teach. And you teach us who is God through the human experience. Share your stories. We will see the shift in perception of God to become more of the communities of color and what they have to offer and the medicines they share. Ultimately, we'll get to that point anyway, because the environment is screaming to us. The earth is speaking to us. So speak her voice. And yes, she comes in the voice of not religion sometimes.
Yes,
She comes in the voice of the art of the poetry,
yes.
the tarots.
The books, all of them. And you know what? You don't even have to read them anymore. You can listen. You can get them on Audibles. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. That was so beautiful. Um, we're gonna wrap up, but before we do, I have one question that I ask all of my guests, and I've only gotten the same answer maybe twice out of about 200. And so the question is, if you could change anything in the world, what would that be and why?
That's a hard one. Hmm.
Just channel it, girl. You got it.
it's hate, but it's so general.
Hmm. Yeah.
It's so general, but that's what I'm here.
Yes.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah.
Just peace. Just
Ye-
peace.
Yeah. You are definitely here for that. That is definitely one of the things that you are called to do, to bring the peace, to bring the light, to bring the joy. Um, I, you're a channeler. Yeah. Um, was that something that was a shock for you when you discovered that? Because it was a shock for me when I discovered. I was like, what?
I thought it was just human nature, and it is human nature to be compassionate, to be kind,
Mhm.
to be loving, and just share that energy.
Yeah.
I realize that has never been my experience in receiving that, but I'm expected to give it all the time, and I give it freely.
Yes.
So it's like surprised, but not surprised, but it gave me, I could finally accept myself.
Yes.
An honor that this is how I've been made to be a highly sensitive person.
Yes.
And there's nothing about me that needs to be changed, nothing about you that needs to be changed. And will be continue to be honored and revered and respected for that gift. But the world's gonna want to knock you down and test you over and over again. No, you're like us. You hate, you hate the world.
Yeah.
Yet sometimes I do, but every time I'm awakened to the ways I feel rage, I just turn it into poetry. And that's it. That's the divine channeling.
So powerful. So powerful. Because this, we need that in this world. And just like you said, we need it in different ways, because everybody, I watch some channels, I love Abraham Hicks. I do. I've loved her for years. And my grandmother actually got me into her, which is a whole nother story because she was a Pentecostal pastor, my grandmother. Yeah. But she started getting into Abraham Hicks before she left here and got me
Uh-huh.
because I was her, she was my person. Like, I honestly don't think there's another person in the world that loved me like her. You know what I mean? And so she got me into that. Abraham Hicks, Wayne Dyer, Louise Hay, all those things. And most people didn't know that she was into that stuff. So she kept it kind of, and we had a relationship where, we kept things between us. Like I would talk to her and she wouldn't tell anybody, and she would talk to me and I wouldn't tell anybody. And there are things that I shared with like my mother that she didn't know because grandma and I had this bond. And so I think about that. It's like, okay, you watch these different channels. Like I've seen what's her name? What's that guy's name? The one that did Seth, and there was a couple of other different channels, older ones. Those are older ones. I just learned about them recently, but just some of the different other ones. And I've seen Erin. I like Erin Lyons the way she does. But I noticed that you can channel in different ways. And I tell people I channel audibly, but mostly I channel through writing, and I didn't realize that until probably a few years ago. It's like, oh, that's what I'm doing. So like I'll sit down and I'll write an article and it'll just flow out of me. I didn't even know where it came from, you know what I mean? And so I realized that. I realized that people channel through writing, people channel through art, people channel through poetry, like you said, through song, you know what I mean? And so I just believe that if we would all just let those things free, set them free, set ourselves free, stop being the cogs and the matrix and on the wheel and all that. And like I said, your generation is doing that because y'all going to school for stuff and working in it a year and be like, this is not what I want to do. And our generation is like, what is wrong with these crazy kids? You went to school for 12 years and you did that thing for one and you gave up. Or you were going to be able to, you're going to be able to make a lot of money and, blah, 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 blah. But it's not about that. It's really not. And for me, it's like, I feel like it's a journey of, you know what, I'm supported and I trust God because God put me here, called me to this work, and so I'm supported.
Yes, you are.
Yeah. So let the people know if you have anything that you are doing, like your classes or anything, and where they can best connect with you. And we're gonna land this plane.
If you'd like to connect with me, just visit consciouslifestylecoaching.com. I'm on YouTube and Instagram, Facebook, and I'm excited to share this interview and hope to build community. Tammy, come into the medicine garden, meet some people. Um, and that's my free group coaching calls on Tuesdays, 7 p.m. And yeah, just reach out to me, write to me anytime. I write to everyone who reaches out and just share some level, find a way for you to receive support in your journey, whatever that looks like. Particularly if you are a spiritual entrepreneur, I'm here to help you and guide you through this next transition.
Yeah,
Spe- So that's all I have. Thank you again, Tammy, for this opportunity. And I hope to be able to chat with you again. And I'm excited to see your growth because I see where it's going. Highly professional, much needed. Thank you.
you are so welcome, and I am in such gratitude to you because I'm telling you, when I get you guys on this stage, especially ones that look like you and I, because that is has been my challenge. And I think it's shifting now because I've been setting intentions and I've been calling people because I really want, the world to see, because I feel like, I've been doing this show for all this time, but now it's almost like it's catching up, like people are finding it. And I'm like, yes, but I want them to see that we do this work too. And we actually probably did it first, and I say that not in an ego type of way, but the fact that, people don't see people that look like us speaking on the things that we spoke on. And so I want that to be, you know, a thing, and not that I don't mind talking to everybody and anybody that, is in this arena, but I want to showcase us more because people don't know we exist. They think that we're all stuck in the brainwashing and the manipulation, and we're not. Many of us have, come out and, and really started working, for God. And then I also love the fact that, you know, you're like me. You're working for God. You love God, because when I first started coming out, it was like, everything was all kinds of other different type of things. And I was like, nah, I love God, but I know that I'm called to this work. I know that I'm supposed to be in this arena, in this field and doing this stuff, helping people, and all that. And so that was a whole nother journey, rabbit hole type of thing, so, you being here to help people on this journey and with that strong connection to God. And I don't know if you know, but you got a strong connection to Jesus. I mean, even possibly even past life type stuff. That's what I'm feeling right now. So thank you for coming. That was a long thank you. Thank you for coming. And I truly do appreciate you for showing up and the work that you're doing. So
Thank you. I know
keep,
this will be the last time we talk, so I'll
I
be
was,
checking
I
in,
was gonna
making sure people giving you the respect.
right. I was gonna say, if there's anything that I can do to support you, that's what I'm here for. But yeah, so we're gonna land this plane. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. This has been amazing. I have loved this so much. What does Abraham Hicks say? I have loved this interaction. So we're gonna do that. So make sure that you are following Rayleigh. She is amazing. I found her on YouTube and I was engrossed. I binged her channel, just so you know. I binged her channel because I was like, ooh. And then her shorts are so awesome because she gives you just that little bit, little tidbit, and I love it. So any way that I can be of support, I will. But make sure that you are checking her out and you're following her, and that wherever you're listening and you're watching, that you give this a thumbs up, give it a like, and share it out to the people that need to hear it, because many people need to hear what she has to say, especially being a beautiful young lady. She has words, she has stuff. So definitely support. So again, thank you so much for joining us on Straight Outta Savannah. Bye now.